Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show we're talking about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Supergirl as well as the latest episode of The Walking Dead. Like always, if I'm talking about something that you want to listen to, you can always look in the description down below. I include the time when I start talking about each of the respective shows. So, for example, if you want to hear what I say about this week's episode of Supergirl, you can skip to what I say about this week's episode of The Walking Dead. But the first thing I'm going to talk about is this week's episode of Supergirl. A great episode. I really appreciate the fact this episode literally brought up what I brought up before, as well as kind of kept bringing up. I was like, okay, this red daughter storyline, like, they're not doing anything with it, are they? But it's so interesting because I think they did a very good job, because it makes you think, like, okay, you see little bits here and there. It's like secretly this plot has been heavily building up without our knowledge. I mean, it even played into what I kind of brought up last episode. I'm like, is Lex going to meet up with the other Supergirl? Because they kind of play into it too, because, like, obviously, like, we see 3 years ago when he got sentenced to what was like 31 years in prison for everything that he did. Jimmy had talked about, for one, the torture and the 16 scars he's got, but it's like, yeah, apparently at one point in time he wanted Superman to join his side, which I think that's always something that has come up of, like, why be enemies? We could be allies. So great things you could do. Your godlike power is my brain. But it seems like the moment Superman says no, it's when he's like, oh, you're enemy number one. Because even Jimmy was like, all you want is a pet Kryptonian, which is so interesting. I wonder what group specifically was he trying to build. I mean, I guess it's just, L Corp in general, maybe. Just everything he was in general doing. But it's interesting. Even locked up, Lex still has all the power. Even the Warden, he's giving gifts to the Warden, giving lobster to people. We even found out how him and Eve met. Eve and Otis were just like fans and stuff like that. In particular, Eve was, and she became obsessed. And she's just like, oh, I think you're so gifted and so smart. She just wanted to prove herself. Then we find out about her getting hired at, Catco. So much stuff going on. I also love that Otis is such an idiot, because it's like, Otis was at one point like, oh, should I stay with the commies? He's like, no, you're driving me. He's like, oh, okay. And he's like, yeah, you should. This guy seems like he's really smart, like basically setting up the whole Ben Lockwood thing, which I'll get to in a second. He's like, at least one of them is smart. It's like, I didn't realize how much of an idiot Otis was until this episode. That was just so funny to me. But nevertheless, it's so crazy, because for Lex, he's been like orchestrating this entire plot. Everything has been going his way. It's like the whole Ben Lockwood situation, the whole Children of Liberty thing. He kind of set that emotion. I mean, to be fair, Otis and his sister set that all emotion and everything, but it was all built upon his plan, because basically he wants there to be an enemy so that, when, Cosnia does attack America, he can be there to defend it. It's like, oh, so he can come out looking like the hero, which is so interesting. It turns out that the other Supergirl, the Red Daughter, the only thing it seems like she can remember is Alex, which is so interesting. But I guess because Alex is such a core foundation to who Kara is, she's so important that, even with not having all of Kara's memories, that little bit of like Alex being there was enough to stay. But then she met Lex and she's like, oh, Alex. And he's like, yes, Alex. So playing into that. It's actually interesting, her relation, like Lex and Kara, the other Kara's relationship. It's so weird, because you almost see him taking care of her. He's teaching her all this stuff, and you're like, huh, it's almost sweet. I mean, to be fair, he's a psychopath and he's just using her. But even as the episode progresses, you kind of go, there's a part of me that feels like he kind of does care about her. It's almost like, because she's just, like, it's not even like, because in some cases it seems like, oh, he got the pet Kryptonian he wanted. In other cases, it seems like almost like a replacement for Lena. And in other cases, it seemed like a straight up like, oh, you're like my daughter. I mean, for him, he's like, you're my greatest legacy. It's like, it's so weird to see their relationship develop and see him kind of like skew her mind and stuff like that, because for him it's so interesting. Being as rich and powerful as he is, for him, I guess he feels like the way the world kind of works is based on greed, and he doesn't like that. He's like, yeah, I got money, but that's only because I know that's how this world works. That's their currency, so obviously I'm gonna use it and take advantage of it to do what I can do with it. But people are greedy, even kind of using that as an example with the whole like Great Gatsby book and stuff like that, because it was actually her favorite book because she loved it, thought it was beautiful. It's like, I'm not giving you this because it's beautiful, blah 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 blah. You know, his propaganda and stuff like that. But it's crazy. It's interesting when you get to see different story points at different point times, because you're like, oh, you can correlate where that took place in the story and stuff like that. For example, the whole situation of when they went to show up at Kara's apartment, which I'll get to in a second. It's like, oh, Alex, oh, shouldn't you be in Smallville? So I'm like, oh, okay, so that's taking place around the Elseworlds crossover, so that's interesting. But what I thought was so fascinating was Lex knows who Kara is. He knows she's Supergirl. It's like, how? Wait, what? Does that mean he knows who Clark is? That Clark's Superman? Because once again, that might have been something that came up in season 1, so I don't know how much of that continuity still carries out, because a lot of stuff kind of changed from season 1, but like, I don't know how. Like, I feel like if he knows Kara's Supergirl, he would know Clark is. But I mean, well, yeah, I feel like he would. So he must have already known. Maybe he's just never made it public, because it's like, oh, like, Clark's going to be my nemesis. Maybe it's kind of like I've brought up before with the whole Joker and Batman thing of like, sometimes Joker knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman, but he doesn't tell anyone because like he wants the fun all himself. It's like, this is my mortal nemesis, so I'll deal with him in my own outright. I have no idea. It was just kind of like so casual, like, oh yeah, and this is where she lives as Kara. I'm like, we're just dropping that like it's nothing? He knows who she really is. How long has he known? I mean, to be fair, like in the entire time that she's been Supergirl, he has been locked up in prison, so that has to be considered as well. But that must mean he knows who Clark is, not unless he... Because the crazy thing is, too, that also means Eve knows who she is. That means literally the only one amongst all this who doesn't know who she is Lena. I always kind of felt like Lillian... Didn't Lillian know who she really was? I think, yeah, because that was the whole thing of like Lillian kind of holding that over her head. I'm like, oh, I know who you really are. I'm going to let Lena find out for herself. And it's like, I kind of get the feeling like Lex could always throw this in Lena's face at some point in time. It's like, oh yeah, this friend of yours, she's actually Supergirl. All this big secret she's been keeping from you, blah blah blah. I'm still waiting for that heel turn of like, that's going, because you know Lena's going to be upset, because it's like, yeah, she's always had her issues with Supergirl, especially last season. She definitely had her issues, but you know, finding out that Kara lied to her this entire time, like, of course that's going to have its own effects and stuff like that. But it's so interesting. It's kind of sad too, because like the other Kara, she actually came to America, she was enjoying it. She was like, yeah, it's a little this and that, but it's like, it's not that bad. Even though, because for her, it's like, Kara actually has friends, like where she doesn't. Like, Kara has like this life, she has an Alex, she has friends, she gets to have a life. But for her, it's like, no, I just train and stuff like that to be taught that, you know, America is such a bad place. But, you know, when, you know, Lex fakes an attack, which, let's be fair, he's willing to kill a kid. And the fact is, Eve is okay with killing a kid just for the purposes of giving the Red Daughter the motivation she needs to kind of get pissed off at America. I mean, granted, I guess things went a little too far, because Lex is like, no, you didn't listen to me. She went off and attacked the ship and basically killed everyone up there. Also, it's interesting, too, Lex ended up pulling out that suit. Isn't that the same suit Lillian had in season 2? Didn't she pop up in season 3 with it? I think she might have. I don't remember. But I think, yeah, isn't that the same suit or is it a different suit? Either way. Because I think the suit she originally popped up with was obviously of Lex's design anyway, but still. I cannot wait for him to cross paths with his mom. I want to get an episode where she's in, you know, jail. I'm like, my boy's free or something like that. I'd be so curious to see that. Once again, to see them kind of join up and stuff like that. Because, I mean, we haven't tackled it, but Jeremiah's still out there. So is Cyborg Superman. So that's something we still haven't crossed off our list yet. Especially considering everything that went down with Otis and Mercy. And now, obviously, that's all connected to Lex. But even the whole situation of, like, when... well, getting back to what I was saying, just the fact is they were willing to go that far speaks volumes. Turns out Otis isn't that bad, because he was like, yeah, if you see a bald man, he told the kid, it's like, Mikhail, to be like, yeah, just pretend like you're dead or something. It's like, so he wasn't there. I was thinking like, oh, Lex just had him somewhere else. I was like, or did he really kill him? It looked like, I was like, oh, did he just, and it's like, I think Lex thinks the kid's really dead. Once again, Eve's okay with that, and that's kind of like, shows, I mean, to be fair, she's like, I guess you go, it's a weird comparison to make, but I guess she's like one of those people who are really into serial killers, that type of thing. But to be fair, it's that situation. I mean, it's just, I guess it's the same reason why so many people back Agent Liberty, because they believe everything. She's one of those people that's like, oh, no matter what Lex has done, I guess. But to be fair, like, I guess the difference between that, it's like for Agent Liberty, it's like, oh, I'm saving human lives and destroying aliens. Whereas in Lex, it's like, oh, he's destroying alien lives while also killing humans because hell, he did it. We don't know if he outright killed them, but he definitely poisoned them, like the judge, the jury, and the prosecutors at his trial. So. Because just how much he looks down on people. He's like, yeah, being judged by couldn't even bring himself to say peers, because it's like, yeah, you imbeciles aren't even on my level, type of thing. Once again, it's so weird. I didn't even bring this up last episode, but I should have. It's so weird seeing John Cryer as Lex. I'm not saying he does a bad job. It's just so weird because in my head, I will always associate him with 2.5 Men. I'm blanking on his character's name, but it's so weird seeing him play the villain role. It's so weird. But he does add this, like, little comedic charm to Lex in a weird way, in a sadistic way. It's just so interesting. It's just going to take a little getting used to, just because he's if it was a different actor, if it was an actor I'd never been associated with, I think I'd probably be able to look at it a little differently. But because it's John Cryer, like I said, I've just known him for 2.5 Men for so long, so it's weird to kind of see him as Lex Luthor in that regard. I still like him as Lex, like I said, but it's just, like I said, it's just interesting. But the other point I was going to try and start making was the fact is that it's interesting that he does seem like he cares about her. Once again, like the whole aspect of like when the kryptonite fell into the sky, he was like, oh no, like it seems like he was worried about her. It's like, oh, you're never going to be sick again, you never have to worry about this and stuff like that. I wonder what those things, like when he pierced her ears, I guess that's one way to ever separate them, if it ever comes down to like, oh, we got to separate the two. So that's definitely going to be, I guess that's what that's supposed to be. Or maybe there's something else. Maybe it allows him to track her, always keep in touch with her. I have no idea. The Red Daughter did bring up some interesting points, though, kind of like, for her, it almost seemed like, once again, like I brought up before, like almost like, am I a replacement for Lena? Because it's like, oh, it seems like all this is all about Lena, because for him, it's like he thought Lena would be by his side. And like I said, this Kara is almost kind of a replacement in certain regards. And so maybe in some shape or form he was trying to replace her, because it's like he probably cares a lot more about Lena than he really would care to admit. I mean, obviously he does, but it seems more like he, it's like we're Luthors, we should be in this together and everything. So I am curious, like, what his relationship is like with their mom. I mean, we see their mom, how she feels about Lex, because like, oh, Lex is the best, he's the favorite child. But I'm wondering how Lex actually feels about his mom. We know how he feels about his dad. It's like he even had the whole conversation with Mikhail, because it's like, oh, his dad left, and Lex is like, yeah, I know what you're going through. My dad stayed, and that was the issue. So I also completely forgot to talk about the fact is that he has powers. I didn't expect that. I guess it's only temporary, which I'll get to in a second. But because I thought the whole point was like to separate the powers from the cure. But I guess the thing was like, at least to get the cure 100%, you had to separate them. Or maybe he took a different version of it. Maybe the one Jimmy had doesn't give him super abilities, but the one that Lex took gave him powers to the point he could rival Supergirl. Because at first when he caught her fist, I thought that was going to be like, oh man, that's him. Like, and you saw the marks on his neck. I thought like, oh, it's the kryptonite in his system because he was trying to do stuff with kryptonite. Till we find out later on, it's like, no, he outright just poisoned himself to get cancer. And I guess the whole like, oh, kryptonite thing, like you're thinking like, oh, he was working on kryptonite or something and got poisoned. Like I thought he was sitting with it for a while. It's like, no, literally a little bit before he contacted Lena, he had set that in motion because he knew she wouldn't help any other way. Because to him, like, it wasn't even just about like, oh, because I thought like everything he did was set in motion because he was trying to cure himself. It seems like he got himself sick because he was trying to cure the other Kara, which is like, once again, shows how much he cares. It's like, for him, it's like, she can't die, I can't let her. So it's like, yeah, there's a part of you that's like, it's mainly got to be like, oh, because she's your project. The fact of the matter is you put so much time and effort into her. But another part of you is like, I think in some weird way you do care about her. Not in just like not in a pet Kryptonian type of way, of just like you do care about her because she represents everything you want. It's what you wanted in Superman, but better, because it's like this person has been raised on your beliefs, kind of sees the world the way you want them to. It's like you get Superman and Supergirl rather in a form that's like conducive with what you want, and what you believe in. It's such an interesting thing. And he is making those points of like, oh, at one point you have to learn how to be like her, which this other Kara does a very good job of impersonating the Kara we know, because it's like he's like at one point in time you might have the feeling for her. So it's like I think at some point in time either Lex is going to have her locked up, the real Supergirl kind of locked up and taken away, or at the very least maybe the Red Daughter is going to think that she killed Supergirl and replaces her, and no one's going to know the difference for a while. Potentially it'd be like, oh, we're going to try and destroy things from the inside. It's definitely going to be interesting. I'm interested to find out like what's going to happen when Ben Lockwood finds out potentially. Like I want to know, will Lex confront Ben and be like, oh yeah, I'm the one that kind of orchestrated all this? Isn't like, oh, I mean, he's anti-alien, sure, but he kind of kills a lot of innocent human beings too. But I guess for you, maybe it won't matter because it's like, oh, it's for the grand scheme of things, it's for the greater good. So who cares? Maybe, I don't know. I'm so curious to see how the story kind of weaves around that whole situation of like. Because obviously, once again, it made it... Because I thought these two stories were kind of going to be separate things. It's like, no, these stories are so damn intertwined. It's so interesting because, like I said, they seem like Ben Lockwood's whole situation seemed like it was all like, oh, it was all that was the focus. Like I brought up before, I thought the second half of the season would be more about the Red Daughter. It's like, no, it turned out not to be. But it's like, no, it's all a catalyst for Lex's introduction. That's a crazy way to introduce a villain that outright, not only did you bring him into the story to cure him from cancer that he gave himself, that this is all everything from the Red Daughter to the, Ben Lockwood and the Children of Liberty have all been a byproduct, connected to Lex in some shape or form. It's like one way to kind of introduce a villain, especially this late in the season too. I mean, to be fair, he's like a well-established villain, but like in the context of the show, us seeing and knowing him, like obviously he's existed in this particular continuity prior to this, obviously, but still, it's just so interesting to kind of, I don't know, just see it kind of orchestrated like that. So interesting. But it's definitely going to be interesting to see when these two eventually clash, when it's Supergirl and the Red Daughter, in the sense of like, because obviously the Red Daughter is like, oh, like Supergirl is selfish because she acts on emotion, and it's like, no, I'm not going to be like that. Basically, I'm going to do what she can't do. I'm going to be better because I won't let emotions dictate, how I act. I mean, that's kind of part of being, her upbringing and stuff like that, You had Lex teaching you almost not to be human in certain regards. Kara acts the way she does because she was raised, in a sense, She was more of a project for Lex, whereas Kara was kind of a byproduct of love and attention from her parents and stuff. It's just interesting. I also like the parallel that they made too because it's like for the other Kara, it's like, oh, she has an Alex like I do. It's like, yeah, there's parallels there because there's also not just that, but also like the relationship they have, because it's like, oh, she has, a relationship, like they have complicated relationships with their siblings in regard of like Lex and Lena, and then now, this Kara and the other Kara, because it's like, oh yeah, like, sisters versus sisters in a certain regard. Because obviously Lex didn't tell her everything about her upbringing and stuff like that. I'm sure it's going to get more complicated, considering the whole fact is that it's like the whole situation of, it's like, wait, you're a copy of this Kara, and, but for her, that might be something that ends up seeing her spiraling, which is so interesting too, because like, listen, once again, another element, I don't know if they ever kept that continuity. I haven't never done anything else with it. Was the whole Bizarro situation. That's something that stayed exclusive to season 1, so I don't know if they'll ever do anything with that. We never really found out if anything else happened beyond that. Well, if there ever would be anything else again with that situation, if they ever decide to do anything with it. But nevertheless, I'm very interested to see what the next episode has in store for us, especially the way the episode ends. Lena's cuffed to a chair with a note in front of her. Like, is that supposed to be like a whole suicide thing that they're trying to set up like that? It's like, is that supposed to make it like, oh, it was an accident, and, or maybe make it seem like, oh, shit. Like, I'm so curious to see what ends up happening. Is it going to be something where they try and ruin Lena's name? Once again, like, the whole Harrenhal situation, and now Lex, like, that's all going to fall back on Lena pretty hard. I'm so curious to see what ends up happening with all of that. And now moving on to this week's episode of The Walking Dead. A great episode, a very shocking episode. still trying to process everything we saw. It's so interesting because obviously you have the beginning and then like obviously the ending, but it's like the middle of it seems so weird because obviously I guess that's the whole point. Like I think the episode title was it not like the calm before? It's supposed to be like the calm before the storm, but it's like when you look at everything at the fair, it's like, oh man, everyone's happy. It almost feels like you're watching a completely different show. It's so weird, but I guess that's the point, is to draw you in. It's like, oh, this good time, this good. Yeah, everyone's having fun. Yeah, you have Judith dunking Eugene in the water, and just everyone's gathering around having fun. Yeah, it's such a good time, and it's like, that's so crazy to me. And then, you know, because obviously, once again, there's the beginning, which you had that sweet thing of like, oh, this couple, even the wife, she's the one that made the H for like Hilltop, or even supposed to be home. And it's like, oh, it's our anniversary. And then you find out like, oh, they get murdered on their anniversary. And you see Alpha, they're cutting her head off. I'm like, what the hell is that about? What are you doing that for? We find out later on because she's kicking it round and about at Kingdom, wearing the wig and everything. But the fact of the matter is, it was a beautiful thing of like the groups came together after all these years. Even Carol like, wait, is that Judith? It's like, well, you haven't seen her in like 6 years because after everything that went down, you know, after months after the whole Rick situation, you know, everything went down that we learned about last episode with Michonne and her friend. So obviously she closed doors immediately. So haven't seen. I mean, I'm sure she's probably really reluctant to let Judith out of Alexandria after that point, except for times when she kind of snuck out and did her own thing anyway. But now you kind of understand, like, because Carol had been like so shocked to see her, and you know, it's like Henry and Lydia, because Lydia was kind of getting a little worried because like those dudes who were friends of his, well, quote unquote friends, were like, oh yeah, like she likes Henry and Henry kind of likes her, and obviously it made Lydia feel weird. But he's like, oh, they're such idiots. It's like, no, I kind of like you. They're being cute and adorable, and she's like, good, because I shoved goat crap in their face and everything. So there's that. Then there's Enid, Luke, and Alden, because Alden's like, you know, no, I'm not going to. Luke's trying to convince him to sing. Even Enid's like, I want you to sing. It's like I said, such good times. And once again, the groups came together. Like, no, Lydia, we're not letting her go. Like, you know, we are embracing her as one of Alexandria's people. It's like, yo, because even Tara had an issue with it, but I love that Michonne brought it back. It's like, yeah, well, look at all of us. Like, a lot of us. Like, you know, Rick was all that keen about me when I first showed up at the prison. What about you? Obviously, you were on the governor's side, but, you know, let's not forget who started that train rolling. Glenn, you know, put that aside, and you brought you into the group and everything. And even Ocean, the lady who's the representative, I think her name's Rachel for Oceanside, is like, yeah, we could have killed you when you washed up on the beach. That was kind of the whole point too. And then Tara kind of had to be like, okay, I kind of get your point. Like, we all kind of started off as strangers. We didn't start where we are right now, but here we are. We are a family. Like, we kind of lost sight of that for a while, and kind of I did, and everything kind of fell apart after. Because once again, it was like Alexandria, then everything just kind of kept toppling after us in a domino effect. But it's like, we are here together. They sign. I even love Michonne being like, I shouldn't be the one to sign. Gabriel should, because he's the head of the council and everything. And it's like, then you have Rosita and Eugene. It's so good. And then the trap, you know, happens. Like, I was like, oh, we're going to defend Hilltop. They go out there. Yumiko, Michonne, Carol, and Daryl. I didn't expect things to go well. I was like, dude, this is it. They killed a whole bunch of walkers, but then like they're surrounded by the Whisperers, you know, or as they refer to them as skins. I'm like, oh, this doesn't look good. This can't be good. And then Alpha shows him, like, oh, look at this. It's like they have an enormous army of, like, walkers, and amongst them are her people sprinkled in, whispering, kind of lead them into what. Like, you can weaponize walkers like never before, because, like, people are going to be unprepared, because like, oh, here's a walker coming, but at the same time it's like there's going to be people mixed in, because it's not even just that you being mixed in that's deadly on its own, but it's like you can sway whole herds of walkers to go after and go wherever you want to. So and I was actually scared. I was like, did she go in there to kill Lydia? Because we saw her sit down with Lydia and she got all close to Ezekiel and everything. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to meet the queen, which she does later on, but still. I didn't like it the moment I started seeing, like, oh, Ezekiel wasn't there. I was like, no. I didn't see Henry there. I was like, what? Come on, this is going to be bad. And, you know, Like all these plans they had, and that's the most heartbreaking thing of this. I'm just going to talk about it. I can't just not talk about it right now. I mean, I'm like only like partway into this recording, but I did not see that ending coming. Henry hit me. I didn't expect that because the way they were setting Henry up, I thought we'd definitely see him. Because I thought in a certain way, like it's kind of weird to say this, but I thought he was kind of like filling the role of a little bit of like a Carl situation. I thought it was, but no, what? Enid? I didn't expect that. Like, she's been around since season 6. Once again, that's the craziness of this show. Like, especially the way they kind of set people up to seem like, hey, we might be seeing this person start taking a more leading role. Nope. Holy shit. Because especially Enid, because her story was such a part of the storyline. I mean, I guess everyone else's is, but it's just like she was introduced in, like, the beginning of season 6. The whole, like, survive somehow situation. That whole thing. So it's like, it leaves me speechless. And then Tara, I should have figured, holy shit, can Hilltop not catch a break? Because Maggie's situation is just whatever it is. Like, she's off with that Georgie and her group. Jesus died. Now Tara is like, gee, who the hell is going to take over Hilltop? Now, maybe Daryl? I don't know, because like the blacksmith, his wife died. They just took took care of the baby and everything. And it's like, that happened? Jesus, dude, what? That sucks. And even, it's got to hit Sadiq hard too, because it's like, yet again, other people kind of die around him. Because like, obviously, the last time this probably happened for him was like the whole Carl situation. Carl was trying to prepare him and ended up dying because of it. And for him, it's like, I was prepared to die, but here, all these other people die. But you have that heartwarming thing he's like, the fact is, they wanted me to tell you this story so that we could spread fear. But the fact of the matter is, we are here. I'm here to tell you the story. The fact is that these people who weren't even who were strangers, came together, fought for each other like family, and they fought tooth and nail. Their lives were cut short. Once again, I did not see that coming. Like, for me, that Henry death, especially because Carol had to be the one, it's like, dude, because Carol was like, no, I'll be back. And it's like, they were in the kingdom and they got grabbed. Like, that's why I was kind of freaked out when Ezekiel wasn't showing up either. But oh my God, dude. I was expecting to see his head too. But that sucks, dude. Especially for Ezekiel, because he'd already lost Henry's brother. I mean, hell, we got introduced to Henry as a kid, and now he's older and what? This show is crazy, dude. This is like, because, I'm sure this is how most people feel about Game of Thrones, just because I've never watched Game of Thrones. I'm not trying to make comparisons, but it's just like characters getting whacked like that. You're like, holy shit. There's been some surprise deaths in this show, but I don't think this in like season 6's finale / 7's premiere is like the closest, like, holy crap. Like, I mean, there's been some brutal deaths that have caught me off guard, but it's just like, man, that was like a straight, like, flush of bam, 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 bam. I mean, kind of shows you that Alpha isn't fucking around. Even to the point she killed one of her people because she was pissed because Lydia decided not to go. And I was scared when because he was like, did you kill Lydia? I was like, did she? Like, every time I was like, oh, please don't kill Lydia. I was like, oh, thank goodness she's alive. Because I was waiting for her to do something, pull out a knife, slash her, stab. Because in her own sick, twisted way, Alpha still loves her daughter. In some sick, twisted way. It's like, all I ever did was try to make you strong. The fact is, you're weak, so fine, I'll leave you here with these people. And, she's like, I don't think you guys can keep my daughter safe. And then Daryl being like, because she's like, I hope I'm wrong. And Daryl's like, yeah, you are. So, because I also was thinking like the whole Henry situation, because it's like, oh, you embarrassed her, like questioned her, it put in question her leadership and stuff like that. That's the main reason, like that's one of 2 reasons why she killed Henry. But the other reason is like, you're the one that tainted my daughter and pulled her away from me. So like killing Henry was super personal. But I was thinking like maybe they're going to do a whole thing of kind of like setting up the whole Alpha and Henry thing, kind of similar to the whole Negan and Rick thing. To a certain extent, I thought that's what we're doing, but I think instead we're going to get Lydia and Alpha. That's probably going to be, dude, I even think, and this could be me just throwing it out there, like obviously like you had Aaron bringing the whole point of like, oh yeah, I told you to be good as a parent and stuff like that, right? I think he's going to take Lydia in as his daughter. Like, I think that's what we're going to see. That's so, dude. And I think another reason why they didn't kill off Sadiq, which would have been even more like, let's not forget him and Rosita having that baby, and Gabriel, and That whole situation, I mean, obviously they found their way around it, but still, they're in a good place with all of that. But I felt like that could have been the real moment. But that's harsh, dude. Like I said, it just sucks. Because, like, I was, like, legitimately, I was halfway expecting someone from the group. I was expecting either Carol or Yumiko, maybe. I did not expect those deaths like we got. Because, once again, that was in the kingdom, like, must have grabbed them up. I mean, I guess there must have been other people from their group sprinkled in there doing all of that. And it's like, dude, they're going to strike back. They have to, especially Ezekiel and Carol. They're definitely going to strike back. Hilltop has to. Tara, dude, that sucks. You know, I did not see all that coming, dude. And obviously, I'm not even mentioning any other people that died. It's like that girl that kind of potentially might have had a thing for Henry. That girl that Henry ran across is like, oh, do you need help? And it's like, nah, I'm just looking for someone. Like, that's what I'm talking about, dude. That's crazy, man. And it's sad to see it kind of all play out like that. It's like just, because it hits too, because it's like just as they were getting back together, this all happens. It's like, fuck. I'm swearing so much because, like I said, it's still so raw to me. I'm like, especially because the episode ends on that. Just like, you know, Lydia leaving a coin for Henry, and it's like, holy crap, that sucks, dude. Especially because it was like, yeah, maybe kind of like, you know, like I said, Daryl's kind of got the kids. It's like, you know, Lydia and, you know, Henry, I thought kind of like that, but I definitely feel like they're going to potentially push like the whole Lydia and Daryl thing, just because for Henry's sake, we're probably going to see them wanting revenge and stuff like that. I mean, obviously we've seen what happened in the past when like revenge became like their main thing, but still it's like they're a threat. They've killed our friends and family, you know, and she's even threatened, like, you step in our areas again, you got a problem. Once again, it's like, how do you fight an enemy that's like that? You know, because even if you killed Alpha, she'd still be in, like, you know, there'd be other people who so believe in her position. Maybe killing her could change everything. Maybe if Lydia killed her and took control of everything, like, I'm the Alpha, maybe that would set things differently. I don't know. Or maybe you just have to straight up kill every one of them. It's like, but how could you? There's so many of them sprinkled around with walkers, you don't know who's who and what's what, you know? I feel like that Lydia situation hits even, like the whole Henry thing hits even harder, because Lydia, this is like her first time at normalcy. Like, Henry brought her into this whole thing of like, yeah, this group, they'll look after me, this family, this people that care about each other, and the person she cares about most who brought her into this is gone now. It's like, that sucks, especially after that sweet moment of Ezekiel being like, our son is taking a girl on a date to the movies, and even like Carol being like, it's so crazy to hear you say that like out loud, and it's just like, no. It's so interesting because this kind of ties into the conversation between Connie and Kelly. I thought was kind of interesting, where Connie was basically, well, Kelly was pissed because it's like, you didn't say goodbye. Like, at any point in time, this could be our last goodbye. Heavily ass foreshadowing, which I kind of felt, but still. And it's the whole situation of like, you left without saying anything. But Connie brought up an interesting thing where it's like, they left that baby out there to die. I couldn't just not do anything. And plus, like, that kind of set her emotion to like, okay, I gotta help with this whole situation. I can't let Lydia go back to a group that's willing to do that to a baby. But like, Connie was like, yeah, but it brought back some feelings I thought I had taken care of. I was like, whoa. Was she in a similar situation where like someone forced her to leave a baby behind or something? Like, and the thing is, like, Kelly was like, I know. So like, it had to be something within their family for that to happen, or maybe it's something that, you know, they went through after, when maybe it was from before all of this went down. Maybe it's, you know, after all this has gone down. I have no idea. Hey, dude, like this episode was a heavy ass sucker punch. Ain't been sucker punched like this in a while, dude. And then on top of all of that, like, next week is the season finale. That's the crazy thing. I'm like, this ain't even the season finale we're going like getting gut punched on. It's like the episode before the season finale. I am so interested to see what goes down. Like, things are going to get crazy. Like, are they going to go outright straight to war? Are they going to be hesitant to make a move just because of the forces that Alpha has on her side? Like, I don't know how this is all going to play out, because a lot of people this ain't going to sit well with a lot of people. Like I say, everyone's going to want revenge, but we've seen like what happens when you're so motivated by revenge. What about Negan? Are we going to start bringing Negan into this too? Because it's going to be a situation that we're going to need all the help we can. Is everyone going to be okay with that? Because we, you know, it's like, Negan might be necessary, you know. It's like he was the evil before, but now this is a whole new level. I mean, I guess you can make the argument it's just because even Negan had his rules in certain ways when things went down. If it's like, you got one of ours, I'll make it an even. No, you know, I don't know. Like, Negan had his own twisted rules too. So I'm curious to see, like, obviously the way they got things set up with him. What does that mean going forward with all of this? Like, when it's all said and done, is it going to be like another time skip after, you know, with the season finale? Like, or what? Also, like, where the Walking Dead movies, and like, I haven't looked into it, so I have to look into that. But like, when do they tie into all of this? Or this is also coming from someone who hasn't seen any of the Fear the Walking Dead, so I don't know if any of that will compare. Because I know that's in LA, I think. Obviously, all of this is it was in Georgia. I think it's still in Georgia. I could be wrong. But it's definitely going to be interesting to see what the season finale has in store for us. After sitting here for a little while, I think I know what the last time the Sucker Punch episode hit me like this. It was Carl. Like, the mid-season finale, season 8's mid-season finale, probably hit me this hard. But I feel like this hit me even harder because there were so many gut punches like that, dude. I'll shut up now. It's just, like I said, I need a, you know, palate cleanser of getting some, like, less depressing stuff on my mind after this episode. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. To the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.